Welcome to Project Minds. My name is Manjeet Singh and I will be talking about project planning in this video. Let me begin by stating the obvious. Most people, including project managers, find project planning fastidious, unexciting, and sometimes even boring. You and your team, for example, might be tempted to roll up the sleeves, get their hands dirty, and start delivering the project. And your senior management gets delighted because they see action happening. However, the reality is that if you are not aware of exactly what you have been asked to do and how you intend to deliver it, your project will end up being totally derailed. And that's a fact. I've seen that happen so many times in my career. That's why you need a project plan that summarizes in one document the objectives, key requirements, deliverables, scope, and more. At the end of this video, we'll talk about what can constitute a good table of contents for an effective project plan. A comprehensive project plan is the cornerstone of an effective project. You may have the best team in the world, but if you don't have a plan, your project will most definitely fail. Even agile projects have to be planned too. Sprints, for example, have planning at the beginning of each sprints, reviews and retrospectives. So plan, 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 and plan some more. Even if your plan is imperfect, it is better than not having a plan at all. And begin building your plan by focusing on the critical issues first. Another reason project planning is very important is that the very act of building a project plan will help you uncover a host of problems. And you might have to sort of address those problems before you start the implementation phase of your project. For example, while building your plan, you might realize that requirements are not very clear. Your company does not have the resources to accomplish the project. You do not have a strong project sponsor. The cost is too high, and the business case is suboptimal, and so on. This sort of scenario often happens when it comes to projects that have very fuzzy business requirements and documentation. So, building a project plan stress tests your project before you start implementing it. And it's very important, to understand that a project plan is not, I repeat, not a project schedule. In fact, if you ask a number of project managers to show you their project plan, chances are they'll just whip out their project schedule or Gantt chart. A project plan is more than just a schedule. It is very important to understand this difference, because this is a source of confusion for most people. At the same time, planning is not an exact science. A good project manager typically builds her plan based upon her experience, common sense, and involving her team, and also using documents that were used in similar projects. So involve your team when building your project plan. You will get their inputs and buy in. And once your plan is ready, get a peer review done, especially by people who are not involved in the project but have experience in projects similar to yours. And as you know, that a fresh set of eyes is always useful to get feedback from a new perspective. It also will help you identifying things that you might have missed out or got wrong. Okay, now let's quickly talk about what typically goes into a good project plan. An executive summary. You'll write this once you have finished your project plan. Ideally, this should not be more than 5-6 pages at the most, and should be able to summarize your plan from a high-level perspective. Project objectives. What is your project trying to achieve? Use the SMART method to examine those objectives. Project benefits. Describe how the stakeholders will benefit from the project. How will that bridge shorten transportation time? How will the rollout of a new CRM improve your customer service? How will a modern kitchen make cooking more efficient and pleasant? Focus on the benefits. Project managers unfortunately focus more often on deliverables than benefits, which is very important. Scope. In scope and out scope. Detail the scope of the project. Explain what is in scope and out scope. The methodology that you're going to use to execute the project. Is it going to be predictive or adaptive, agile, waterfall, or a hybrid? The budget. How much is your project going to cost? And how much money is available for that project? The schedule. Use a Gantt chart. Highlight the milestones and also explain the deliverables. Team and stakeholders. Create a RACI matrix to determine who does what and detail the responsibilities of each team member. Project governance. In this section, describe how the project is going to be governed. Show how the different groups in your project will communicate with each other. These groups can be steering committees, functional teams, technical teams, and representatives from departments and so forth. Risks, constraints, and dependencies. Outline all the possible risks and how you mitigate them. Detail any constraints and dependencies with other projects or departments. Communications. How are you going to communicate throughout the project? Think weekly meetings, steering committee meetings, technical team meetings, functional team meetings, and so on. Change management. Detail the process for accepting and reviewing changes to the initial scope of your project. In any case, your scope would change no matter what. Quality control. How will you test and verify that the deliverables meet the agreed upon acceptance criteria? Organizational project management. A project produces changes in the organization and people can be resistant to change. And large projects will need to have comprehensive organization change management methodologies. For smaller ones, you might have a smaller process in place. And least but not last, don't forget, a project is a living document. Throughout your project, you will have to review and update your document so that it reflects the current status of the project. I hope that you have liked this video. Do subscribe to projectminds.com and leave your comments below. Thank you very much.